All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We have another power session. This is one I'm particularly excited about because if you're on here, you've probably heard me mention this company before. You might have heard me recommend this directly to you as a possible solution. We are here with SMA Support, which is a virtual assistant provider that is partnered with Roofle, very closely partnered with Roofle. We're really tight with these guys. A lot of you have probably seen Chris Durrell in one of his past lives from either contracting or consulting. He's been around the block, so to speak, in a couple of different ways and in a couple of different industries. So before we get started into the rest of the episode, we've got a lot to cover today. I did want to highlight a few things here at the beginning. We have a couple more episodes coming up. We have our first Spanish language episode. So if you've got team members who would prefer to consume material in Spanish, if you know a kind of company in your region or somebody in your market that you're aware of, send them our way. We're going to be covering the insurance process for Spanish speakers, bringing in Amparo Sansen from Latinos in Roofing. So that's going to be a really exciting episode. We're very proud to be able to kind of bring that to the community for the first time. Secondly, we are going to have IRE coming up very, very soon here, as well as all of the other events. Chris Durrell and the rest of the SMA team will be there as well. Roofle's going to have a booth the entire time. Come and find us, ask questions, get help on things, see what we've got coming down the pipe. We just released Roofle 4.1. I'm just running through a laundry list here, guys, because there's so much to cover. We just released Roofle 4.1. If you log into your Roofle dashboard, you're going to notice some differences immediately. You're going to get some automated messaging in case you need updates, in case there's anything that you missed. There's a couple other steps that have been included in that. Reach out to your customer success reps, reach out to your sales reps, ask for those updates. We have a ton of cool stuff that we just released. Now, we'll jump into everything else. Two little reminders. We've got a Q&A at the end. Go ahead and throw in where you're viewing from today. Throw in any questions that you see throughout. We're happy to have you all here. Chris will jump in and answer as many of those towards the end as we possibly have time for. Otherwise, we are going to offer a speed to lead audit. So that's something that SMA is offering. It's a really cool feature. They will come and check your website. They'll give you a lead and then check exactly how long it takes for you to get back to them and how your follow-up looks, and kind of look for gaps in what they could recommend to improve that procedure so that your customers are getting the best and most curated experience possible with your company. Now, sorry to just keep you nodding along this whole time, Chris. Chris, please introduce yourself. Give us a little brass tacks on SMA before we dive in.
Yeah, Justice, it's good to see it. No, it makes it a little easier. I have less talking to do then, but with that intro. So so now I've been with SMA for a little over a year officially in the, on the team, but I was one of the first clients with SMA really early on. In my journey with SMA as a client started right after I found Roofle too. And so we implemented both Roofle and SMA support. And people ask, what is SMA support? The easiest way to explain it is think of it kind of like a sub crew for your office. So just like we have kind of outsourced the labor in a lot of these contracting businesses where we've got a crew leader that manages a team for us, it's really the same for your office. And so whether we can be, the team that's behind the scenes to help an inside sales position, ops position, those types of things, but not only give you a team member, but then the support behind the scenes so that you're not the one directly managing them on a day-to-day basis, kind of letting you just focus on kicking butt, doing the things that drive your business forward. So.
Awesome. I love that concept of a ready-made employee to kind of fit a hole that you might have in your kind of admin team or what have you. So what we're talking about specifically today, guys, is virtual assistant powered workflows. So something that SMA focuses pretty heavily on is having workflows and strategies built out for your company, literally written down, designed, and put into practice. You should have a standard procedure for pretty much how you do everything. So as we run into our first topic of the day, identifying common workflow challenges. So Chris, when we are looking at scaling a business, one of the most significant challenges is, of course, maintaining organization and SOPs that fit your growth model. Everybody's growth model is different. Everybody has their own specific goals, and every market is just a bit different. So what are the most common challenges that you see when you're working with a company that is actively scaling?
I think there's usually like kind of a couple buckets of companies. And so starting that journey with the guy where it's like, hey, I'm going from just me to we and expanding that. Like the problems that he faces or she faces are really the same problems, just amplified as you get bigger. And oftentimes, what we find is if we're good at doing stuff, often we may not be good at kind of teaching people, showing somebody else how to do it. It's one of those, it's in my brain, but I don't know how to get it off of my plate. And so, how many people out there, it's like you bring on the new person and what's the training look like? Oh, we just ride in the truck together for a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever it is. And then there's your training, and then we figure out all the things that we didn't tell you, after you're out in the field figuring out what you need to do. And so when we start, I talk to a lot of contractors, and most people, there's definitely no documentation of a process. It's kind of, hey, I know what to do, but I don't really have it written down to give it to somebody else. And so when I talk to a lot of guys, I'm just like, hey, start with the basics of, you can literally, talk to your phone and just have it record you and walk through all of your steps, and at least put something together. But it goes just back to, most of us don't understand how to really walk somebody else through and then build an instruction manual, because that is super boring to do in the first place, where it's like, I'd rather go do these other things. And so we kind of just push it off on the back of our mind. So one of the things I tell a lot of people, when you're looking to scale, you're looking to offload things, and kind of figure out, as we get more people, how do we ensure this consistency continues to happen? We've got a lot of tools, like even screen recordings, looms, where you can just record these things. How do you do it? It's like, Justice, walk me through what you did today. Great. Now you can go out and do this in the field. I'll be sitting here. Let me knock these activities out for you. And I can always reference this recording, and it's got the transcript so I can follow along as well. There's a number of tools where people can really help get those things out, because when we look at the efficiency, what makes you not efficient, it's jumping between 15 different tasks. And so the reason you're jumping between 15 different tasks is because you don't have somebody to hand those things off to go and execute them. And you're wearing too many hats a lot of times.
Okay, so from that kind of overview, the general difficulties just being scattered, basically trying to be a one-man operation or two, three-man operation and cover all of the responsibilities of an entire organization without having the time to stop, create those SOP, at least record those SOPs and have something organized to pass to the next person. We're actually in the middle of that right now. We're bringing on a couple of new people to the customer success team here at Ruval, and I'm currently building out a training schedule and training plan for those people, because, well, we've never done it before. We've always been a small enough team that you bring somebody on and, hey, you're just going to shadow everybody on the team until you're ready to step up and go. But hey, we gotta do better than that. We've got to get a little bit more organized. So as we look at this optimizing workflow architecture, what would be the expectation on optimizing workflow architecture? What are the basic steps that a company needs to take? And can you share some examples of what that would look like?
Yeah, I think when we talk about this, because that's like workflow architecture, efficiency, a lot of these are probably terms some people are like, okay, what the hell are you really saying? When we really look at it, is think of it from the customer's end of, what do they want from you? It's information of some type, and they want it from you quickly. So when we look through your process that maybe the customer goes through in that roadmap of your business, how long does it take you to do something to, get that information to them? Because I either need to give them something so that they can give me something, or vice versa. And so when we're trying to build out a process, I always say it's like, starting at that beginning of the lead journey, even, what can we do at that very beginning to make sure we're responding very quickly? And if you start there and then just keep following through that customer journey at every step, you can really start diving into, what do we need to do here? And let me screen share. I want to show the one-page marketing plan, because this roadmap, I think, is really a good way to kind of drive the understanding of, where efficiency is or could be had in your business. So up top, if you look at this roadmap here, and so we kind of start through like, hey, we've got our ideal market, the clients that want to work with us, that we want to sell to. How do we go through the journey where we bring them in, attract their interest, capture that lead, nurture it, eventually convert it into a sale, and then we deliver a 5-star experience, figure out a way to get more value at the end, and turn that more into referrals. And so there's a book called The One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb, that it's a marketing book, but really when you kind of dig into it in the surface, it's more of like an operations guide to some degree, where you can think about how you're going to go through in your business. to drive efficiency. And I think once you get into like the phase of the book where it's talking about how do you capture leads in your business, it really starts there. So it's like, what are you doing? Are you capturing every lead into a CRM? Is it coming into a spot where that data is collected? You're not writing it down on a piece of paper. That can get pretty deep in that section of how you're going to capture that lead. What do you get there? How do you get all that information? And then the efficiency on nurturing leads. Like we talk about, what should our salespeople be doing on their best days? They should be following up with all their customers, but they're not. They're oftentimes, if they're full on their schedule, they're not going to follow up with the leads that they did. So what can we do to make sure that somebody is going back after those leads? And most times it's something where you can set up an automation where you've got your CRM, something is triggering to nurture those leads versus a manual follow up with it. And then also having somebody like SMA where you have a team member that can take those follow ups off of a salesperson's plate or your team's plates so that all your sales guys can just go out and sell instead of sitting in the office calling leads. Those are ways where we look in that segment of how can we find some more time in there. And then converting the sale. This is another one where look at your business. How many calls does it take you to make a close? Is there a way for us to go through our process and speed up what we do to close this business? So when we look at Roofle from that lens, when I convert a sale, like if I can start my journey by getting somebody to fill out an instant roof quote, there's going to be some other things I can do along the way to minimize my time that is needed to invest with that customer for them to trust me. So it's like they fill out an instant roof quote, but when I capture that lead, I nurture it. I'm going to send them a couple videos. If you've got a CRM, you just put your little intro video, send it back to them before they've even had a chance to, set up an appointment with you. You're going to build some trust. And so that video example is a good one of like, what can I do to offload it off of my plate in this process, capture it once, and then serve it up to my customers over and over and over so that it builds that trust, but it takes it off my plate from each of those steps. So when we get into this nurture segment, phone calls are really important. Most of the times people want, they'll see texts, they'll see emails, but when you have somebody that can call you and call you repeatedly, and it's the same person that you spoke to at the beginning of that journey when you started with that business, there's that trust factor there. And that's where SMA, we're really powerful at, enabling a sales team to be out selling. And then they've got their remote team member who is behind the scenes, giving the touch points to all their customers so that they feel those warm fuzzies that we're trying to get them to then convert them. So I know
This
that
is something that, and I wanted to kind of slow down with this part just a bit because there are a couple of aspects here that I run into quite often. Here at Roofle, we do a lot of kind of consultation work with our customers of coming in and, hey, how do I get the most out of this tool? How do I really optimize what we're doing here? And there are a couple of key things on this roadmap that I wanted to dig into just a bit. And that first one is ideal market and your ideal client. And that's something that I feel like can be easily overlooked, but people will come to us and say, I'm looking to pursue an e-commerce remote sales model. And there's two things that I pretty much always want to check on first to think, are you ready for this? Or here's some things you might need to do to get ready for this. The first one is know who you're selling to and know if your physical market is really going to work with what you are trying to make happen. If you're out in a really rural area with maybe a more old-fashioned customer base, the fully remote sales might not be the right thing to work for you. If you're in a very modernized place, if you're in an Atlanta, a Dallas, Tampa, you're probably much more likely to find a quick success and get people ready to adopt that sales style. So that understanding your ideal customer, your ideal market, and trying to target them is a part that I try to focus on quite a lot. The other part here is that capture and nurture your leads is when a lead comes in, what are you doing with it? Because if you don't have an inside salesperson of some kind, it's very difficult to mobilize the rest of your sales team who are out taking physical appointments, maybe getting called over to a neighbor's house to do a kind of on the spot demo or sale or just kind of inspection of somebody's roof. You got a bunch of moving parts. And to expect them to also be checking the CRM and do that follow up and that kind of warm up those leads for an appointment, an internal salesperson, even if they do 6 other jobs, if you're in a position where, hey, we've got 3 to 5 leads coming in every day that need to be nurtured, having a person who might do accounts receivable, might take care of some billing, might do some other organizational admin stuff, but they can also do that outbound calling, warm up those leads, set those appointments, get your kind of overview of that sale already set and predetermined. That's something that I harp on quite a lot because if you're trying to pursue e-commerce, you've got to have the time and resources to contribute to that effort. And that was a part I just wanted to slow down on here. For a lot of people, it's, hey, I either don't have the resources or don't feel like I can afford to hire a full-time person just to take care of this. That's where a resource like SMA comes in. Well, you can have somebody train up to do multiple different aspects all at once, all remote for a lot cheaper than, hiring a full-time employee here.
Yeah, and that's to there's a couple things that you said there that I was thinking about, like the usefulness of Roofle in rural applications for people that do want to approach it that way. There is still people, like I'm in Detroit, and I think of the market that's north of us, an hour, 2 hours north. There's still people that don't want to buy from a guy that's just, the guy around town that does roofing, and they would prefer somebody that would be willing to, service them, and they're willing, hey, we'll figure it out if they'll drive up here, and you can start that journey with them, save yourself a ton of drive time, let them use an instant roof quote, and kind of prep that process. And it's kind of like, hey, is this going to work for both of us? Yes, no. Now I'll go drive out there. And so you might be able to find ways to. There is still, those Facebook groups and communities where people are looking for roofers, and you can post a tool like that. And that's an activity that like an SMA team member does for contractors that we work with. And so we use Roofle, in knowing that the clients that these businesses are trying to attract, we think of who's going to use Roofle, who wants that instant price. It's somebody that doesn't want a sales guy in their living room. So that's usually typically, a female head of household. And so what we can do is go post in areas where they're getting the message, which is usually Facebook groups next door. And now you can have your SMA team member just manage your Facebook group, or manage your page. You can post on behalf of your business, or you can go on Nextdoor, post on behalf of your business, post on behalf of you, say, hey, we're the only roofer that'll give you a quote without coming in your living room, because we know when we talk about that ideal customer, that's where they're receiving that message, and a lot of those people live. So let's promote the fact that this is a flow that works for them. And then when they do fill this out, I hear from a lot of people, it's like, oh, I tried Roofle, we got a bunch of, leads, but we just didn't really convert a lot. And it's like, okay, well, how many times did you call them when those leads came in? They filled out that instant quote, but how many times did you call them? It's like, well, maybe we called them once, maybe we call them twice. You should be calling these leads 10 times till they tell you no, but also supplementing it with some sort of automations in that, workflow of texts and emails that, send them a video, tell them about your business. How are you the right choice during that education phase of their journey? And then when they are ready, that roof starts leaking, then they say, hey, I already saw that price a year ago on your instant tool. Come on out if it's close to that. Let's just get this thing done. But you're going to need that year of somebody touching base with them, and then also being ready that if they do call, they can book that appointment, and handle that. And so where SMA comes in is like, what is it in your process that you need taken off your plate in this cycle to help support that customer and really give them that seamless communication? Get a team member that handles all that stuff from start to finish, and then takes 80% of those questions they're going to ask along that journey. We know the answers to them. Let them answer your client, and then they come to you when we need it. Think of how much time that's going to save you if people aren't calling your phone. Instead, they're calling your office and your team member. Hey, Carlo, what's up? Hey, when am I on the schedule for? Oh, great. I can look this up, get it to you. Boom. Your customer just got the answer they wanted, and it saved you the time of having to interrupt whatever it was you're doing to then respond to them.
Yeah, that's kind of a feature of what I would call kind of like permanent holistic lead generation. Of somebody comes to your website, if they're willing to give you their lead information, put them in some sort of automation, even if they're not ready to get a roof today, even if they're not going to be ready to get a roof for 6 months. Start with the initial hot follow-up, a couple of phone calls, couple of emails, a couple of text messages. If they say they're not ready to move forward now, perfectly fine. Keep them on a drip campaign once a month, every 2 months, every 3 months, shooting them an email with some information about you so that when they are ready, you are the first person to come to mind. Not everybody's going to be ready to re-roof their house right now, it might take them a year to make that decision, really be ready. Now it's critical. Now I can't push it back anymore. I've got to get my roof replaced. Who are they going to go to? The person who is transparent and provided them information and sent them an email. Oh, just last week. That's right. These guys have been on me about this, available. And if anybody else in their region needs a roof, hey, I haven't used these guys yet, but I probably will when it's time, because I got in touch with them 6 months ago and I still hear from them. Just they're not pushy. They're just making sure that if I need them, they're available and it's easy to find them. So just kind of creating that warmer customer base in your market as a whole, kind of becoming hopefully the go-to person.
Yep. I think that's kind of a good pivot too, of like the other things that clients are expecting along the way that sometimes you can't give somebody else that phone to answer those questions. And so it's like, hey, I need to be the one to specifically pull up I need to be the one that's, on the phone with the client. And so there's a lot of things that maybe still need to get done behind the scenes when that client calls you with a phone call and they're fighting a fire. And you're like, man, I still need to get X, Y, and Z done. I need to get my crews paid. I need to get their, things loaded into an invoice. And so this is where, when we look at like, what can SMA do? How can we help you? I hope this is a little clear. I'm trying to figure out the Zoom on this. But basically anything in these blocks, if you're filling up your week with items in this list, these are the things we could take off your plate so you can focus your time elsewhere. And so we've kind of, when we look at what SMA is, how do we help? We've tried to kind of column it and say, hey, here's 4 columns of areas of help. These aren't 4 people. This could be one person that's doing things in all these different categories. But if I ask a lot of people, how did you spend your week last week? And they build out their week and they fill it up. It's like, okay, I was spending time doing estimate preps. I spent time, calling customers back, getting appointments scheduled, calling my old leads. All of these things on that front end where you shouldn't be doing that. If you can go out and sell a roof for $20,000, you shouldn't be calling to set up your own appointments. Your time is way too valuable for that. Now, yeah, I know you need to have enough leads to fill your schedule with that, but if you weren't spending all your day on admin stuff, then you could spend your time doing more, relationship building, things in your community to network and go get more leads. But you're stopped from doing that because you run out of energy because you spent all your time doing all this admin stuff. So whether it's on that front end, there's a lot of activities there. We can help you think of it like this, where if you were a salesperson and you didn't have to touch anything else until you showed up to the homeowner's house, you literally knocked on the door, you looked at your CRM before you showed up, got your notes about what they're looking for, all the things they talked about. And it's like, hey, Justice, it's Chris. It's nice to meet you. And they've already seen an estimate. They've already, talked to somebody at your business. Literally everything has been done. You walk up, you're ready to sell to them, except you're not even selling to them. Now it's just, hey, what can I help you with? What are we here to talk about? And taking your sales visit that used to be, let's call it 60 to 75 minutes, if we're being generous. 20 of that minutes was maybe spent on prepping a sumo quote in the driveway, pulling a report, putting those things into it. All of those tasks can be pulled off of your plate so that you can go out and just sell. When we get into more like the operation stuff, and the experience we have with a lot of people is like, if they have a team of 2 people, we're going to have 2 team members. One's really going to handle everything up to a signed contract. One of them handles everything after the contract. So prepping material orders, customer scheduling, those types of things. And so it's an easier way to think through it that way. On the post-sale sides of things, we can help with material orders, getting those things prepared, submitting those, getting your crews scheduled, coordinate with your homeowners, the bookkeeping and financials. A lot of us on the smaller sides of the business, if you only have a couple people, it's like, I don't have time to do all my job costing. And so you're hoping that what you're selling jobs for and billing jobs for are, what you meant to make on the beginning of that journey. It'd be helpful probably if somebody was giving you that information to help you make better decisions. So if there's reports in your business that you wish you had, but you just don't have time to do, or somebody to do it reliably and consistently, this is where we come in. And so really it's like, people ask, well, how can you help me? You just told somebody else you're going to help them with that. It's like, we are, because his problems might be different from her problems. And so each of these buckets, whether you're a retail contractor, insurance contractor, 90% of that, it's really all the same. The insurance workflows, for anybody out there listening, we're really, really good at helping people collect money faster at the end of the job by building a good process. But even if you're a retail, contractor, we can still help you get your money faster because there's probably people that aren't getting a call every day until they pay you. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just missed the email and didn't realize I still owed you money, even though you just did my roof and I know I got to pay you. And so it's like, what can we do in that back end to clean things off of your plate, make sure they get executed, but then also at the end of that, when they're sending that invoice, when we're coordinating that with the homeowner, and then they call and they're like, hey, this is also the customer satisfaction review. Like, tell us about our team. How did we do? We're pulling those things that maybe we're getting more feedback, that they were overall happy, but maybe one or two things, didn't go right. And then they're passing that feedback back to you. Whereas most of the time you would have just invoiced them, gotten paid, you move on to the next job, and then they didn't leave you a Google review. And you're like, oh, why didn't we get a review from them? And it's like, oh, there was nobody asking for those feedbacks at that point in that process. So there's a lot of me rambling there. So I figure I'll pause and let you kind of ask or, have me pivot.
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces in there that become pretty important, and like the you have your kind of top line benefits of having a virtual assistant is like the actual tasks, getting tasks off your plate that don't need to be there, so that you can really focus on what you do best and have that FaceTime with customers rather than a bunch of admin stuff in the background. But then there's those additional things like you had mentioned, like, well, collect a little bit faster. Just whose full-time job includes collections and making sure that you can get those as quickly as possible. Then the other thing that you have is that customer feedback, making sure that every single customer gets the opportunity to make any kind of complaint, adjustment, recommendation. As much as, yeah, we don't always want to hear those complaints, those are the things that we can learn from. Those are the things that, if it was hey, this was a 5-star experience except for this that I didn't appreciate. Well, if you have somebody taking care of all that minor admin stuff, your job is FaceTime with your customers. You can then go back to that customer. Hey, as the owner, I apologize for this circumstance. What could we have done better? Get that feedback personally, and then go, even a real review of whatever you just said. I'd love a review from you, because a 4.5 is better than no review at all. Or even a 3.5 with an explanation, and that you came out and tried to resolve it, because people can go back and change those reviews. So rather than, I saw you put in a 3.5 review, I'd like to see if I can win that up to a 4.5 or a 5. You didn't put in a review at all. What's going on? What could I have done better? And try to get that review after the fact, when you created even more of a relationship with that customer. So there's kind of these smaller features that, if you are trying to go a remote sales e-commerce route, these things become so much more critical than if you're outdoor knocking, than if you're just addressing your market the way that people traditionally do. If everything is remote, if everything is e-commerce, your online presence is so much more important than it would have been if you were doing this another way. So your online presence needs to be immaculate. Part of that, making sure you get your reviews, making sure your reviews are good, making sure you have real quality reviews, and you actually use the feedback from your customers.
Making sure you're responding to said reviews very quickly, because Google
Mhm.
wants to see a quick response to that. And so it's like, if anybody out here in the chat, like, type reviews, if you know that you haven't responded to some of your reviews, like, that's hurting your ability to get leads that are coming in from the channel of Google, because Google wants you to do what they want. And so it's like, interact with your customers there. So if you're not responding to those reviews, good, bad, otherwise, this is something that we could do, where it's like, there's probably a lot of low hanging fruit in your business that it's like, I meant to do that. I meant to do that. That just, fall by the wayside because fires pop up, because that's the nature of running a contracting company. And so there's, whether it's that side of thing, um, or even on the front end, something else. Somebody asked me, they said, you guys do the call handling, like, you'll take the calls and appointment set, but I'm just going to get one of those AI tools. And I'm like, that's awesome. So once they take off those two little things on our list, we can still do everything else on here. And so I do have a couple clients that are using AI for the call handling, for intro, for booking calls, scheduling, etc. And then an SMA team member is still doing all the legwork to prep stuff for their sales team, prep stuff for their operations team, even though the call stuff is being handled by a robot.
Yeah, that kind of the ability to combine these different technologies is super, super critical at this point because everybody's trying to economize, everybody's trying to optimize, figure out the fastest, cleanest, easiest way to do these things. So, Chris, can we talk a little bit about um, the cost of SMA? I know that Roofle customers get discounts. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yes. All right. So actually, I should have just kept sharing that. Give me 2 seconds. I'll pull it back up. Um, so the way it works, the nice thing of working with us is this business was born out of a roofing business, and so the we understand the natures of a roofing contractor where our markets can be seasonal. You know, the flow of revenue and profit that we're seeing each month can go up and down. So when you're working with us, there's an initial one-time fee to get started, and then there is a monthly fee that's based on basically your full-time team members' hours. But you can kind of flex. There's no long-term contracts to get started. It's a month-to-month agreement. So for a team of one, you're looking at an implementation fee of $4,500. For a team of two, it's $5,000, and for a team of three, it's $5,500. Right now, what we are doing is we're running, $1,000 off for any Roofle customers as well. We're giving them this. And then we also, if you have a team of two or three, we are covering your Roofle subscription. So if you have the need for, two team members, then we're going to cover your cost of Roofle. So it takes a few $100 off each month. But the structure of our teams, the way it works, if we give you a team of one where a lot of people start with, it's $20 an hour for the first team member. You're not just getting a team member, you're getting a team member, two managers, and then a quality control team behind the scenes that is listening to phone calls. But the managers there, their job is to really make sure any of the process training that we go over in the beginning and pull off of your guys' plates, they're there to support the team member if they have questions to make sure technically they've got what they need, the softwares that they're using, they know where to go so that they're not coming to you for all these little questions. And so full time, you're looking at basically $3,300 a month roughly for a team of one. If you do have a team of two, I tell most people if you have maybe an inside person that you're ready to flip to an outside sales seat, the base salary that you're paying that team member can probably cover two virtual remote SMA team members. And the benefit of going with SMA versus hiring another person locally, there's no additional overhead to these costs. And so this is an expense to your business. They are employees of ours, but we're not employees of yours. And so you do get some additional savings on that overhead when you staff through us. The nice thing about staffing through us, you're going to get a dedicated person. So that person that is joining your business, they're going to be in that seat pretty much every day of the week. However, let's say, they're sick, something happens, they're on vacation. What we do is we have their two managers that are there. One of them is kind of the backup for that seat so that if somebody is out, they're hopping back in that seat for you. But when most of our teams start up, you're going to have that same person in that seat every day of the week. So they really become part of that family in your business. And it's not just a rotating pool of people that are hopping in to answer phone calls for it. So did that answer I think I went through everything on there for the
Yeah,
pricing.
I feel like that gave a very strong overview of what you guys bring to the table, the overall cost of it. I do really like to highlight that if you are a Roofle customer and you come into SMA, they will actually cover your Roofle subscription if you go on a team of two or more. So you end up with basically getting a free service out of your Roofle, and then you get a chance to. So if it's something that you're thinking of doing, it's something that can cover an additional cost that you're already taking on, and can help economize in that regard, as well as bring you the benefits of having these virtual employees.
And I think we also said something for a team of one, where if we're doing a team of one, we're gonna I forget what the offer is, but if you're interested in a team of one and you're already a Roofle customer, we'll see about something. But if you haven't signed up for Roofle yet and you're going to sign up with SMA and with Roofle, I think I don't hold me to this, but I thought we were going to do something with the Roofle onboarding. But I remember something about that, but now I'm drawing a blank
I've
right now that we're talking
I've got
about
it here. That'll be 50% off of your Roofle onboarding, or a credit of 3 months for Roofle after your first 3 months with SMA. So you can either take an upfront $1,000 off your onboarding with Roofle, or you can take 3 months of your subscription, even if it's just a one-person team. So kind of lighten that load as you get everything ramped up and up to full speed.
And one thing I forgot, there's a little note down here. So within SMA, we do have an after hours answering service. This is something that we've started offering. Typically, it's for teams that are going to have like 3+. That's where they want our answering service because it's $12.50 a month and it's unlimited, basically nights and weekends, essentially, where we have a small team that covers your account for after service answering hours. But for most people, the journey that you're going to go through is probably maybe I was taking the phone calls, then I got a call center or an answering service to handle phone calls, and then you're going to come to the virtual assistant. But we have a lot of people that once they're kind of starting to scale, maybe they're spending, 500, $700 a month on an answering service. Then it may make sense to start offloading more of these, and then you can keep the answering service for nights and weekends for significantly less if you're not seeing a high volume of calls. So we have that too, but I just tell a lot of people it's usually for the bigger accounts that's there. If you're smaller, I've got some other recommendations that we'll refer you to that are more of a good price point for value for what you're looking for.
Nice. Yeah, the way that I really like to show the highlight and the connection between Roofle and SMA is the fact that Roofle is so catered to the remote sales and to the e-commerce market. So if you look at customers coming in and saying, I want my customers to be able to come to my website, get an instant quote. I'd like to then follow up, get an appointment scheduled, and learn as much as I can about this project, and then pass it on to a sales rep. And that's kind of the
Are you,
happy path that I call kind of with Roofle is like what we like to see. What you got, Chris?
are you guys still? Is that live switch stuff still rolling out?
Which live switch
There's
stuff?
live switch. I saw him at one of the I think it was Top Rep, but it was the thing they click the button, they could talk to somebody on video chat essentially. It's
I know that there's a ton of updates coming throughout the early part of this year, so that could easily be coming. I know that we're working in with some kind of some automation SMS services, so there's some stuff coming down the pipe.
well, so this is they were at the show, so I'm happy to share this because it's nothing secret with that. But it was basically they
Sure.
were talking about this live switch tool where your client could, similar to the healthcare industry, you click the button and you could talk to a live person. And so
Mhm.
one of the things that we were talking about is, this is great where you could either have an SMA team member be that video chat representative for you. So if a customer goes on a
Yep.
roof, will fill out the instant roof quote, and then they say, I want to talk to somebody. Perfect. Click that button, video chat, and then they can speak to your VA, and that VA can basically get that appointment booked, ready, and set up. And they're great on camera. They're great with customers. It's one of those things that we are looking for people when we bring them on board. We've found people that have already been in a call center that have done these roles of customer support. They're good on the phone, they're personable, and they're somebody where it's like, oh, they're a good representation of my business when they're talking to my customers. Um, People have asked, can they sell? Like, could I have them selling? This is one of those where it's like, how good can you train? How much time do you want to invest in this? And like, depends. There's probably better workflows where you have, your kind of like rock star sales guys, and then you use your VAs to support them throughout that process. But I also have some people that are starting to try and use them to do some selling. And so what we're doing is like group trainings with their team managers and then the 3 people on the team, and then one of the customer success guys from SMA, where we're doing objection handling and some things like that. And so it's really, we'll try it, but it's also that's when it's like we're not going to be selling for you, but there's so much to support on that process to basically tee it up so that you can then go and just close that deal if you want to do it, video sale.
Yeah, and that's kind of the path that we're seeing a lot of people pursue is that pass off to inside sales, warm everything up, and then assign it to a sales rep. And some of that goes into introductions along the way. Is hey, I'm Kevin with Super Roofer, South Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a couple of questions about your project, get an understanding. That's where the Roofle tool comes in with your additional cost questions. Hey, this looks like a 2-story house. Looks like you've got a chimney. Do you have any skylights? Get all of that factored in so that it can be passed to, hey, your sales rep, James, is going to be out there on Tuesday at the time that you set up. We passed all this information to him. Here's his contact information if you have any further questions in advance. That information can go pass over to your outside sales rep, who can then introduce himself maybe a day or two in advance. Hey, I see we're marked down for Tuesday. This is my direct line. If you have any questions, I know the general idea of your project, but if you've got anything you want to cover before I get there, let me know, and I'll be happy to cover anything once we get on site. So there's a pass off and a clean introduction all the way through. So a customer, they get the instant transparency on your website to get their price. They get a name of a human being who's speaking to them on the phone to set up their appointment, get some general information about their project, and they get the name and contact info of the next person to deal with them. And that person shows up having introduced themselves personally. And you get this curated path of, yes, it's e-sales, but it's still real and human, and it still creates a connection with your customers so that when they're done, maybe that first person who set the appointment is the one who calls them back. Hey, is there any way I could get a review or any kind of feedback out of you for how that process went? How was James? How was the installation? How did the crew go? All that good stuff. And you create that continuity with your customers to give a holistic experience. So yes, it's modern. Yes, it's very high tech and e-commerce, and you only had a single appointment with them before you sent out a crew to do their job. But they're still getting a human experience, and they're still getting a, you guys were there, you were quick, you were responsive, informative, and you gave me every answer that I needed.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit like for the people that are looking to sell digitally, like if you're somebody that's, coming to Justice with a Roofle team and saying, "I want to sell digitally." Did you set up your Roofle tool with, did you customize it at all? Did you put pictures of your team? Did you do anything in that like post
Mhm.
response to start building your brand and your value early on? And so like I've talked to some people that are like, we want to start opening a digital division. And I'm like, you guys don't have anything set up yet. Like I know you want to go after this market that you think exists, but you need the infrastructure on the backside of like being able to repeat your message a million times with one piece of content, and you need to create some of those content. But a lot of times people are like, well, where do I start that journey? Okay, start with those questions your customers are asking you. And so that could be even on the initial phone call. What's a question that they're asking you? And so I had somebody that they're having their SMA team member in order to start figuring out what content do we make. All right, on these initial questions, if they ask you something that's maybe not on the list, let's put this off to the side, make a note. And here's a new thing we're going to shoot a video of. And then once we post this video to Facebook, the SMA team member posts it for them, then go ahead and in this case it's Proline. It's like put this in my automations for my like my lead sequence when they get follow-ups after submitting Roofle. Here's questions they're asking about me that I can answer before we even call them. And so
Yeah, give them a quick link to that answer. Give them a video that they can watch. Give them a further engagement of you and your brand. Really present yourself there. We did an episode with Adam Bensman of Roofing Solar Reformation
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
Reform Association, and we were specifically talking about pre-selling. One of the biggest points that he had said is your first contact with the consumer should bring some sort of a PDF or a video or some material to them to show a little bit about who you are, answer some of those frequently asked questions, and get that information to a customer so that their first engagement is, yeah, I threw in a lead on your Roofle on your website, or I filled out a lead form. The very first thing you gave to me was valuable and gave me answers to the most pressing questions that I have.
Yep. And we all know them because it's the same question that everybody asks us, 5 times a week.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So we're open to Q&A. I haven't seen any big ones come through. Everybody coming in from all over the place. I see some wild and wonderful West Virginia. I used to live in the New River Gorge, so definitely miss that part of the country. A couple of people in the Carolinas. Love to see that. Being a Carolina person myself. Ty G asked, are you going to come out with an enterprise white label solution for Roofle? I asked for a little bit more information, didn't quite get that. Ty, if you're still on here, feel free to give me a little bit more clarification there. Roofle is already an white label tool. By enterprise, maybe you're thinking of branded to a franchise or something along those lines. We do have an Owens Corning widget that is fully branded to Owens Corning. So if you're an OC contractor and you want to promote yourself as an OC contractor, platinum preferred, what have you, you can actually get the Roofle widget that is already customized to Owens Corning. All Owens Corning products have built out product cards with a lot more information. Things are branded with the Pink Panther, OC colors, all that good stuff. If that's what your question relates to, hopefully that answers it. To close the gap on the e-commerce side of things, like buy it now. So Ty, to answer that question, similar to Amazon Shopify. So we do have some options there. We have just released signable proposals inside of our tool. So you can now actually send out a signable proposal to a customer directly from Roofle based on a quote that was put together. It is still in beta. We're making updates to it. We're making some adjustments. We're developing it further based on feedback. Once we get to a point where we're confident in that being an instant solution, you should be able to automate a customer going to click through, get information, see details, request a final proposal. We probably still want to qualify things like roof flashing, pulling off multiple layers. There's a couple of steps that would make it a longer questionnaire for a customer that they might not have the actual information to answer. So we might not get to a point where they can actually purchase and submit a payment all through the widget, but we will definitely get them very, very close to that, as close as we possibly can. You can also, to the point of one-click contractor, we do integrate directly with one-click contractor. So you can send all of your lead information directly into OCC if you would like to. Feel free to go to, and I'll put it in here, win.roofle.com as our success center. You can book a meeting with our technical team, with our customer success team, or whoever you'd like personally. And you can actually set up a time to dig into that integration and see how much you can pull that information over, how much you can fit it into that kind of instant process that you're asking about. And then from John B, we had a question, Roofle question, best channel to promote Roofle, social, how about using PPC? So some of that, John, would require some information on your market. So depending on where you are, I've found people across the Southeast tend to have really good luck with Facebook as a resource. I've heard people in different parts of the country saying that Facebook has not been as productive as it had been a few months ago or maybe sometime last year. So it kind of depends on where you are, and it does appear to go in kind of waves. Sometimes it'll do really, really well and then dip off for just a bit. Socials tend to be really strong if you are trying to go the remote sales route. People who are scrolling on their phone, willing to click an ad to see this information, might be a good way to go. Chris, any insight onto that?
Yeah, I think next door, it's when people are going down the journey of like, where can I go to do this? It's
And
like,
John's in Dallas, he just said,
so,
if
and
that
I've
matters.
heard that, and I know Texas and like Dallas, it's all those markets. I think Texas is one where it's like I've heard people that are going with that approach that start with the organic approach first. How can I get people to this tool without spending money first? Because if we go down the same path that we've always done with advertising and marketing, and we're like, I'm just going to throw money at something and hope I can pull leads out of it, at some point that cost is out of our control and it can always go up or it's not going to be effective. And so what strategies can we first build in our business where what are we doing to incentivize our team to go out and get referral leads or use the Roofle tool or show people in their community, this tool exists. If you have a sales team of, a couple of people, they should all be out, showing people that this tool exists when they're talking to people. If it's just you, go out and network. Maybe it is realtors. Like realtors is one that people are always like, oh, I, don't want to be dealing with realtors. They just waste my time. This is the tool that solves a problem for them, a problem for you, and a problem for the customer. The problem it solves for the customer, last day in the inspection window, they're freaking out, needing a roofer. Real estate agent doesn't have to call anybody else because you have the instant roof quote tool. You don't have to waste your time going out to do a site visit until they see that number because it gets them what they needed. This is something that SMA can do. We're working with some of our contractors where now that they have a great speed to lead setup, and we know that if somebody calls them, we're going to give them the response that makes us look good. Now we're calling out to realtors saying, hey, we're a roofer, we're 20 minutes within your area. If you need this tool, we have it available. Can we send this to you? And then let us know if you ever need help. And basically build a way to kind of steer them into the queue and make them walk through the checks that you need before you go do a site visit, but get leads into your funnel. And if you can get the customer's information on it, that's awesome. Worst case, you're going to get an address and then you can go from there. But you're getting stuff that's providing value to somebody else, allowing you to then talk about other services and opportunities that you could then provide. And so this is like what we're doing. If you want to offer maybe like a repair program where tell these realtors, in addition to the instant quote, you send us a home inspection report with photos, and we can send you within 48 hours. We're going to send you an estimate for the repairs on that roof. Instead of being the roofer that's always trying to push for a brand new roof on all these houses, let's let you win, get maybe $1,000, $2,000 off that contract for your homeowner, and then we come out to do it because it's just paid for. And then that's a great end to build that future pipeline of, I did a repair, now 3 to 5 years I'm going out to replace that roof. And so it's just thinking of ways, like I think I put in the chat, One Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb. Really think through like that journey of who's that customer that wants to buy digitally. It's not everybody. Like everybody doesn't go on Carvana to buy a car right now. There's still people going into a dealership. But in that piece of the pie of everybody who might buy a roof, there's a big chunk that's like, anything I can do to keep these roof people out of my home, out of my space, out of my time, I'll get it as close as I can. And then I'll have you come out and make sure you're not a murderer. But in order for that to work and for them to get you to come out on site, your process from that beginning until you show up, they need to feel that somebody's there to always give them that information. And that's where having a team member whose only job is to really be that customer handler can take so many of those touch points, no matter which part of the journey it is, off of the plate, and give them what they want and save you all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I'd like to highlight is if you are looking to build that referral network, there's a couple of ways that the Roof Quote Pro Instant Quote tool can help. There's some really easy ways. If you've got a realtor or two in your market, or if you have a supplementer in your market, or anybody else kind of tertiary to your roofing industry that you know who's a contact who sends you leads, getting them access to the instant quote tool, besides just going to your website, there are some cool ways that they can interact with it so that they can be the kind of point of connection to their own customers. A realtor saying, yeah, I have a roof guy, scan this QR code. It'll bring them straight to your website, but it will let you know that that lead came from that realtor or came from that supplementer. Those are the things that get really powerful in being able to give a kickback to that person to incentivize them to keep doing that. And then you also collect the lead information for the customer. So there's some ways that you can build onto that kind of principle and start creating your own personal network of referrals. Two things that I'll say as we kind of close out. One would be, if you're interested in that type of concept, if you're interested in seeing what you can do with the tool itself to build that network, win.roofle.com. I put it here in the chat. That's our success center. Book some time with me or anybody else on my team. We'll be more than happy to dig into that process with you and show you how you can make that happen. It's pretty straightforward, probably 15, 20 minutes of time of your time setting it up, getting people connected, and then you have kind of instant connections throughout your network. And then second point, to the point of advertising and running through socials or what have you, we did an episode with Contractor Dynamics. Joseph Hughes came on and spoke specifically about kind of taking that process in-house, how to manage it, how to get it organized, and how to make the most of it. Feel free to go back. You can also find it win.roofle.com. Go back and check out that episode. It was really powerful. Joe gave us tons of good information. Chris, any final words as we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think the thing I was saying about, going out with these realtors, making sure that speed to lead in that process is tuned up. Reach out to us. I've sent my booking link in here, but if you just go to smasupport.us, book some time and, type in speed to lead. Let's set up some time we can talk through it, because we can look at maybe what could you do without hiring us just to improve that process of what you've got right now, using your existing tools, your existing tech stack, and maybe you just need a couple little pieces that'll help supercharge it. And then the second thing too is, if you want to talk benchmarks a little bit, like Who out here, does anybody out here have a retail sales team where, you have a couple people that are all doing 2.5 million and above? Like, what could we do to make your teams all be, $2 to $3 million sales guys? Those are things that we can have conversations about, that because a lot of times it's going to come down to pulling things off of their plate and helping them sell more. So that wasn't really like the speed to lead offer, but that's more of just kind of the efficiency audit to some degree. So feel free to jump on a call with me. Send a request on our website, reach out to me on Facebook, and I'd be happy to chat with anybody that wants to kind of nerd out on these things. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Chris. And I just want to make sure I put in the SMA support website. That's sma support.us, right?
yes, that's correct.
sma support.us. I'm putting it in there, Andrew, so you can get to it easily. sma support.us, this is where you can find them. win.roofle.com, you can find us. And then one other thing, Chris, thank you so much for your availability to help people, even if they're not coming to you to hire SMA people. You guys might have noticed, if you've seen a couple of these episodes before, most of our guests will come in and offer something for free, even if they're not looking to get you as a customer. Hey, come and spend some time with me. We'll talk about what you could do for your business without even becoming our customer. It's something that we always try to do here at Roofle. We bring people on who are willing to share some of their time, share some of their expertise, like Chris is doing here, and then offering to do a little bit more. So I personally very much appreciate it, Chris, because we're always trying to grow the community. We're always trying to support the industry as a whole moving forward. Not everybody can jump in and get SMA support right this minute, but your availability to at least talk through some processes and helps point somebody in the right direction does mean a lot to this community. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for viewing us. Thanks for joining in today, Chris. I really appreciate your time. This has been awesome. Catch us at IRE. Catch us at just about any other event coming down the pipe throughout the next year. We've got some pretty exciting episodes coming up. We have more updates coming to the platform throughout the rest of the year. We're very excited about. Can't wait for IRE. We will catch you all there. Any closing words there, Chris?
Nope. We will see you guys at IRE. Otherwise, let's meet online.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.